My eyes open. I am in the middle of a baseball diamond. It feels ethereal, sort of like when you're underwater in a dream and you can still breathe. I stand up. I realize that I am on the pitching mound. I look around. I see people standing on the bleachers of an old T-ball field. They look at me, eyes staring almost through me. I recognize these faces. They're the faces of my family and my friends. And some of them, who I haven't seen in years or didn't think I would see for another couple of centuries, all stare back at me. Some of them are my old coaches, old teachers, pastors, and only one person is moving, standing, swinging on home base, is Gary Gygax, practicing his swing. I look around, speechless. Is this a dream? Have I passed? Finally, has the bookshelf in my office fallen on my head during the podcast? And has it consumed me, which is a real thing I worry about all the time because the floors in here are very unlevel. Well, then this must be heaven, or close to it. I say something and no words come out of my mouth, but I hear a voice behind me. And I turn around and I see an ethereal figure walking out of space and time itself. And I say, "Are you God?" And it looks at me. I think it looks at me. It faces towards me. I hear behind, almost speaking through water itself, I hear all those faces I mentioned before chant the name Zach, Zach, Zach. This ethereal figure looked at me and says, "You would have been dead. You would have made a mark." And I look down at my feet and back at Gary Gygax swinging a bat. And I look back at this figure. I don't yearn for legacy. I yearn for impact of those around me and those that I love. "Well, you were close to something else," it replies. I furrow my brow. "And what was that?" I think it smiles. The chanting gets louder. "Zach, Zach." It says, "If you tracked your XP, you would have known." I wake up in a hospital bed. The chanting has turned into doctors and nurses trying to wake me up from my coma. I feel as my head is throbbing. "The bookshelf," the doctor says, "the bookshelf fell on your head." And I go, "Stop, I'm awake." A silence goes over the room. They all look at me. The press is now inside. "Local boy, awaken in coma." I'm 26. They say, "What is it, lad? What did you see in there?" I go, "It's about XP. We asked to track our XP." I grab the doctor by the tie. I pull him in close, looking through him through his piercing blue eyes. And I say, "What day is it?" He says, "It's Christmas Eve." Bum, 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 bum. I go, "I still have time. I still have time." I push him away. I run across. Everybody's saying, "Good morning, Zach. Merry Christmas." I still have a day. I open up the doors to the local dive bar. I see little Timmy. I slam my head down onto the table. He looks up at me, and I say it was about XP. He has his thing that people have when they stilts, not stilts, the opposite stilts, you put them under your arms. He has crutches. He lost his leg in Iraq. He's 46 currently. He goes, who the hell are you? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bimper Bops and Beeple Boobles. My name is Zachary Ronaldo, better known online as Zach the Bold, and I am your host in this wonderful show. I need some water. I've been dehydrating myself lately, hoping to get Deadpool powers. Like in the first Deadpool movie, except it was air, not water. Hello and welcome. My name, I've already said that part. It has been an interesting, I've realized I've been forcing myself to breathe too much too. I breathe like this normally. I breathe really exasperated. My heart is palpitating out of my chest. Thank you for sticking through my new intro. That's gonna how every show is gonna start. That is the song that plays at the beginning. That is my OST at the beginning of each podcast. It has been such a better week than the last. A lot less crunch. I feel like I've been working at Mappa these last couple of weeks. Now I feel like I've taken some pressure off of my life, get back to making some short form, and we'll get all into that soon. We have a little bit of news, a little bit of rumors. We'll get into that as well. Some great questions and kind of just my thoughts on some game design, some mechanics. This is my Dungeons & Dragons podcast where I talk about Dungeons & Dragons at the last 20 minutes of the podcast. And also just kind of what's happening in my life, what it's like being a content creator inside of the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and also just the stuff I want to talk about where I'm a nerd. So if you're just tuning in from episode 1 through 3, you'll notice that entire show is about Dungeons & Dragons questions. And if you made it through episode 10, you realize that a lot of people's problems are kind of the same. So I caught through a lot of them. And now BoldTakes and Bad Tempers is an entire new thing. It is, and also you'll notice I'm saying thing a lot less, although I did just say it. I'm becoming more articulate in my life. I'm becoming smarter. I feel my brain growing. All right. So I want to start out today's episode by stating a little retcon that I will have, and also explaining that I don't know how kids work, apparently. So in last episode, we talked about this People magazine something or other where someone on Reddit and some person on People, some reporter on People's magazine reported that they were unincluded from their D&D game. They left their friend's house after they realized, because they had some kind of disability that made it so that they have very sensitive feet, where they can even bleed and break bones, so that they wanted to wear the shoes inside of the friend's house, even though the friends said that it would be fine. The wife was not okay with that because they have a baby. Well, I brought up the big problem that I had no idea how do you guys not notice a baby on the ground? I thought the big problem with wearing the shoes inside was that if you did end up kicking the baby by accident because you were walking around or whatever, then it would do more damage as if you didn't have your shoes on. I have been informed that is not the reason why the wife was upset about him wearing shoes on the inside. It turns out babies are so fragile and have such low toughness and durability that it's the outside germs getting into the house that if the baby crawls around, it can get sick. So I would like to issue my 4-part apology by stating, again, I don't know anything about kids. And that makes way more sense. And now I am a bit more on the wife's side because I didn't realize the plague was on the grounds outside. And I'm sure a lot of other things. So that makes a lot more sense because I genuinely thought the problem was that if you did hit a baby accidentally walking around, kind of like a cat or a dog, then it would do more damage, right? If you were wearing steel toes, you'd be doing a little bit more damage. So luckily now we know it's a bit more of a chemical weapon we're dealing with, right? This man is breaking the Geneva Convention by walking into the house with his shoes on because this baby has grown up inside of the bubble like that Seinfeld episode. Anyways, thank you for those who have pointed those out in the comments. This is how I am the youngest out of all my siblings. Also, when I left out of high school, I went to college and I didn't interact with many kids at all. And then I went to Los Angeles. And if you know anything about being a person in your early to mid 20s in Los Angeles, you will know, for the most part, and you're in the entertainment industry, you will interact with kids probably 0% of the time. they turn into the Chupacabra. They turn into the Loch Ness Monster. They turn into Mothman. They turn into fable, myth, folklore, things like that. So when I do hear about kids and babies and things like that, I do realize that I know nothing about them and I haven't interacted with them in quite some time. So when you hear me tell you the optimal amount of children to have is 3, and then someone who has kids tells you otherwise, you should probably listen to them. However, using game mechanics and prior knowledge of literature, you would know that maybe I do have a little bit of a background. Not in real, maybe I don't have baby street smarts, but I got book smarts, okay? And I'm telling you, maybe you should listen just a little bit. Gives you a little bit of reflection on life. So, I appreciate all of you who have pointed out that, in fact, this guy may have been doing something a little bit worse than I thought, and that babies are apparently walking around the house dragging their tongue across the floor. And some parents will be like, yeah, essentially, kind of. Actually, Zach, they kind of are. Have you seen a kid? Not in a while. I don't know. Have I seen the Swamp Thing lately? And I'm not equating kids to monsters, all right? I think kids are lovely. We were all kids once. Can we cut them some slack, please? But you might as well have said, Zach, have you seen the Kraken? Zach, have you seen? No, I haven't. I haven't seen a kid since my last Frontier flight. Yeah. Oh, I think you've noticed. I started out the episode 2 minutes ago. I have to censor that now. Great, more editing. Where I said that I've had a bit more of a lax week, and I mentioned this last week that I can work more now on short form videos. Well, as it turns out, we're back into what I remember now is the problem making short form videos is the idea phase. And you know, I tell you literally, there are days where I pace around my house or outside at the gym for 8 hours, and I just think. I listen to music and I think. And it takes time. If I can't think of a video, I can't get a video out. It's as simple as that. So I had actually 2 videos ready to go this week. One of them being one that I still might make. I spent the entire day making it. And the problem was that I had recorded it all. I wrote it out. I put it together in editing, and it didn't do it for me. I thought it took about 40 seconds to get to the punchline, and the build-up wasn't great. So I got to think about how I will redo it, because I think the idea is great, so I don't want to spoil anything. I also was about to not post the Rage Bait Magic the Gathering video, D&D podcast, by the way. And so I was like about to scrap the whole thing. I had gotten it done at like 3 p.m. I had gotten the video done at 3 p.m. Or around 3 p.m. I knew I could edit it together. And then I edited it together, and I proceeded to do 6 hours of reshoots. Just really, because what will happen sometimes is I will do one take, and the first take is okay. But I like mess up a word. I get a little too off. Maybe I look at the camera by like going like that because I'm stupid sometimes. And the other problem is that, you know, as it goes on, as I continue to repeat these lines, I get less and less energy. So I have a good take below energy, or I have a bad take with great energy. So I have to go back and I re-record it. And I had gotten that Rage Bait video together, and originally I didn't even have the other guy, put his tongue out and whatever, Rage Bait. But I had Elise look at my girlfriend and look at it, and she said, no, it rocks. And I go, okay. And it did really well, and I'm really glad. I didn't know if my idea was portrayed well, and people did. They liked it, which is cool. So sometimes, you're your own biggest critic. Goes to show your art, show your work. But I at least now have kind of a good enough baseline that the first video I made this week, I was like, not worth. The idea can be done better, but I need some time to stew on it. I need to stew and I need to yearn on it. And listen, this is like, for my blue collar guys out there, this is like the DeWalt versus Milwaukee conversation, right? Some people think DeWalt is great and Summers Milwaukee. And you might be thinking, if you are blue collar and know what I'm talking about, what the heck am I talking about right now? And I don't know. So, but I like to think I'm a Vince Gilligan type when it comes to the podcast. That's the creator of Breaking Bad. Sometimes you put in symbols, metaphors, and you don't even know what they mean, but the audience will. Which, side tangent, is one of my least favorite arguments for anything media related. If someone says, this is what the author intended for you to think this piece of art means, so therefore if you think otherwise, you're wrong. And in the same breath, for a different artist, they will say, it doesn't matter what the artist says, it's about how the audience interprets it. So I think those arguments, and listen, I may have went to Yale. I did my associates at Penn. I went to Yale to finish my bachelor's, and then I got my PDH. Oh my God, dude. Holy shit. I got my PhD from Davenport. I got it from Full Sail. I finished off there. So what I want to say, I'm losing it, guys. I'm getting lightheaded again. The bookshelf falls on me. Yeah, but I hate that argument because it can go one way. You can say it about the other way. So I'm not saying that either of those are incorrect, right? I'm just, a lot of the times on online discourse, people will use those interchangeably, and I don't like it. So I kind of disregard that. And for you guys who went to a real proper school like ITT Tech and can one-up me, whatever, you can say, well, actually, Zach, that's a common fallacy. In sociology, we see, dude, can we get into combat? Can I just level up my character? Well, Zach, you see, actually, I got my degree in social studies and psychology and social interaction. I went to, oh my God, say something. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Oh yeah, I had a bit of a heart attack this week as well, and it's not over. It's like 12:30 at night. I'm about to go to bed. I've noticed that when I haven't been lighting my videos, I don't think enough. My f-stop was too low. That's a whole different thing. This is like for my camera bros, whatever. But you'll notice that like a lot of my long form videos, maybe even the podcast, is a little bit noisy. And I always thought that ISO meant more noise. But intrinsically, it's not that. It's about the amount of light in the room, which of course is like film 101. But I also went to an engineering and nursing school for a film degree. So like, what do you expect me to happen? What do you expect to happen? So I've bumped down the ISO to 200. I have put the f-stop lower, higher, lower, higher. And yeah, I did. Wow, I learned about the exposure triangle for once. 4-year degree, by the way. Unironically, 4-year film degree, by the way. So I was messing with it at 12:30 at night, and I go to put in an SD card. It doesn't go in. Okay. I'm like pushing it. It's like, because the way that it works, I'm trying to think of like an equivalent non-film thing. But like, think of it like a Nintendo Switch cartridge where it's like you put it in, you push it in, it clicks in. You can push it out, it clicks out, right? And it wouldn't click in. So I did that about 2 or 3 times. Take it out. I look in with my flashlight into the SD card port. There's a piece of plastic on the inside, and my heart sinks. I end up getting a can of air. I blow it out. Turns out my last SD card that I use broke. A piece of it broke off and fell into the SD card reader, into my very expensive camera. I put an SD card back in. It clicks in. I turn my camera on. Can't read it. My heart sinks again. I start doing research. I blow air out of it. I try. I don't clean it because I don't want to mess up the pins. An SD port, for those who don't know, are very fragile. Okay? Gosh, this is what you guys want to be listening to on your Monday on your way to work. But the pins are incredibly fragile on an SD card reader. And I looked up, how long does it take? I have to send it into some place in Austin to get my camera. It's going to cost me $600 just for shipping and estimation alone for repair. I will be out of a camera for 2 to 4 weeks, so I'll have to rent a new camera. That'll cost me another $300 to $500, and they have to put a $3,000 deposit down on my credit card, which is fine. I can do all that. It's okay. But it's like logistically, I had not made the video yet for whatever I had made. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to make another video for another week. Like, this is pretty bad. I'm going to have to record everything on my iPhone, which is fine. That's how I started. It's about the tools you have available. However, long story short, My camera at the moment is not accepting V30 SD cards. Wow, this is... Welcome to Linus Tech Tips, everybody. It will not accept V30, which is like a newer... It's a better model of an SD card, but it does accept V10 SD cards. So I have a very bad V10. The difference between the two is like differences in bit rates, how fast the SD card can take in data. And I'm sure there's SD card nerds out there who are like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a fine explanation for it. I'm a little confused because there is no pin difference, I don't think, between reading a V30 card versus a V10. And the Sony A7C has an intrinsic problem, software-wise, with reading V30s. But after I reset, I still have to factory reset the camera and see how that goes and whatever. Long story short, there might be some internal damage to my camera, and I'm a little worried about it. And that was probably the biggest scare of my life because I thought it literally was not working at all. So luckily, right now, I can use... Maybe the bit rate is worse on this video, but that is currently what I'm dealing with. It's a bummer. I will try to factory reset if it is a software thing. If it's a software thing, it's the craziest coincidence of all time. If it's not, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg, and I'm going to have to start weighing my options to see, do I make a backlog for 4 weeks, or do I bite the bullet? And do I just rent another camera? So who knows? That's some stuff behind the scenes I've been dealing with because I've been working. I'm this close to buying a new lens, a 70 to 280 millimeter lens, and I think that will really up my game. I need to get one more light. I have a dome light behind me, a man light, huge one, but I need another one. I need one for the background. I need like softer panels, and I think the next time I move, I know I just moved. I think the next time I move, I'm going to put my office in a garage or some larger space, because the ceilings are too low, especially with the ceiling fan. So that's what's been up with me. Let's talk a little bit more about Kenshi. Kenshi is a game that takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, giant sandbox RPG, no quest lines, do whatever you want. And I'm done with it. Sorry, Kenshi fans, I'm done with it. I have a problem with grinding in games, and Kenshi is inherently a game. Sometimes you don't have to grind, but it started to feel too grindy for me, and it really turned me off. And then there was just too many glitches in the game. I don't think Kenshi's a really, really glitchy game. It's playable. You know, it's not No Man's Sky on launch, Cyberpunk on launch. But Kenshi is like I had spent 3 hours destroying. I was a part of the anti-slaver guild. I was going and destroying these slaver farms, and I'd spent 3 hours doing it. And I finally break into the noble's house, and I couldn't target him to attack. I right-click, attack unprovoked. It was even red. My cursor was red. And what would happen is I would go to attack the guy, and my character would leave the noble house. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heated thinking about it. This happened right before my camera broke. So he leaves, and it starts like running in circles. And then finally, like the noble comes out, and he starts running around the farm. And I couldn't even, it made me so mad, dude. So mad. I uninstalled it right then and there. And who knows, maybe I gave it too short of shit, but I'm done. I'm done with it for right now. So the new game I will be maybe playing, I've been playing a little bit of it. I've been playing Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, and it's cool. It's very awesome. It's pretty much a TTRPG. It's a CRPG, you know. I have one glaring problem with the game, and I'm barely past the introduction. Barely. The models inside of Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader look identical to Hero Forge. The miniature, friends of the channel, love them. This is not a dig on Hero Forge at all. Of the D&D miniature, customize your own D&D miniature, get it shipped to you. I will even put it on screen. Look how similar these two look. This is the Sistro to Battle, and then that is the Hero Forge thing. Sorry, Future Zach, you're going to have to edit a little bit. It keeps getting me out of the game. I go, this game looks like I'm playing the Funko Pop video game. Like, I feel like I'm playing a Hero Forge Warhammer game. Like, it used the same graphic engines or something, which I think is Unity, but I don't think it uses Unity. So it's kind of taken me out, I'll admit. And the great thing about Warhammer is they make a bunch of different stuff that has like a million different art styles. It's very cool. You know, I prefer the more gothic, grimdark, not Vermintide, Darktide angle, but I can play it. But this is really taking, I feel like I'm playing like a sponsored Hero Forge game. So that's that. I'll keep you guys updated with that. It's a little jarring. Okay, let's get into some rumors. Let's get into some stinky old rumors, baby. This comes from wargamer.com. New Dungeons & Dragons playtest suggests a comeback for controversial Dark Sun setting. Dungeons & Dragons drops an apocalyptic subclasses playtest, and it could herald the return of the beloved but controversial setting. Dungeons & Dragons is added again with the new subclasses, dropping a fresh playtest on August 21st. The theme is apocalyptic and gritty nature of these subclasses has everyone speculating that a Dark Sun setting remaster is on the horizon. If it is, these initial subclasses look very promising. The new D&D playtest features some of the most exciting design choices we've seen from Wizards of the Coast all year. For those of you who also watch my normal long-form videos, I think we're starting to see, I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend that my recommendations are becoming a little fruitful. Hold on, I'm getting a call. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Let me get this. Oh, it's Dan. Hey, Dan. Dan Ayub, Vice President of Franchise for Wizards. What's up? Oh, yeah, I was actually just talking about the Dark Sun thing, yeah. Hey, listen, you're asking for more advice. Yeah, have you been watching all my videos? You have? Okay, cool. You like the podcast still? Oh, it gives you a headache? That's cool. Listen, what is the stuff about this Dark Sun thing? Oh, you'll send people to my house? Okay, cool. Listen, hey, I'll call you back. Let me shoot you some ideas later on. Watch the episode 19 of the podcast, and I'll give you some more. Okay? All right, love you too. All right, bye. Is Dark Sun coming back? Listen, the entire thing about the Dark Sun controversial whatever, right? I don't know much about the controversial part, but I've never been disjointed from the idea of, listen, if it's a post-apocalyptic setting, there's bad people will be bad. And you know what happens when you need bad people inside of a world? You need some heroes. Let your villains be bad people, okay? And I'm sure there's a lot more problems with it, but it's a dark and gritty world. Come on. Like you don't look at a Dark Souls setting, right? And you're like, hey, that's controversial. We can't be having that kind of stuff. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It's gonna. However, it goes on and it speaks, and I've seen discourse online that people are a little worried that Dark Sun is going to come out because of the homogenization that I've talked about before I'm using my YouTuber voice. Ooh, yikes. About the controversies behind kind of the milquetoast, lukewarm reception of design of Greyhawk, current Faerun, Forgotten Realms, and that it's a little too much the same. And there's a thing, I think, in sociology that when people have expectations for a genre or something, just like anything in general, right? They have preconceived notions going into it and their interest wanes, right? I'm excited if they're going to redo Dark Sun. Am I worried that they will milk it down? What? They'll milk it down. They'll water it down. I am. I want it to be brutal. I want it to be gritty. All right. Half-Life 2 beta reference. The thing is I don't want that to stop them from making it. I want it to be received well. And if there is a little bit of controversy around, hey, this is kind of like Faerun set into the desert and it's a post-apocalyptic world, but however, everyone is friends and the bad guy is just an evil guy who has a resurrected army and he just wants to conquer the world. As opposed to a Mistborn, there is a mighty king in the world, and he sucks, and there's a class disparity, and there are, whether it be like a poor class, like whether it be, there needs to be some disparity. There needs to be a villain. You need to be the hero, and whether that reflects the real world and what you want to say, right? I think it's good for your, like, that is what it should be. It shouldn't be, we are heroes and we will, no, we've faced these problems. this world, no matter how brutal this world can be, I will be the hope that shines a light. In my Kenshi run through, my headcanon was that, my guy was just like the Wanderer from Fallout New Vegas in the sense of, he didn't have a parents, he didn't have whatever. He was there to make the Mojave better. He was there to be the pinnacle. He was there to shine the light that no matter how bad things are, the tenets of what it means to be good are always the same. And you can oppress people, and you can put them in a bad situation, and history can repeat itself. But there will always be heroes, and there will always be those that fight for good. And I'm sorry, when you have a little space where everything's good, everything's fine, we all live in peace, but one bad guy with his evil armies coming to destroy it all. I know what to expect from that, but it's the same. It's been the same. It's staying the same in the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and I want something different. So, I don't want to say someone at Wizards is watching my videos. I honestly don't know. But I am appreciating, even if there is an effort, to bring in something new. Which brings on, if you are listening to me, Wizards, on my Mighty Fine podcast, you made it through that awesome introduction earlier. I want to recommend something, and I want to process the brain. I don't like Overwatch. I don't like Marvel Rivals. I don't like that style of game. However, what I do like is how they pique people's interests and how they keep them playing in the sense of new heroes coming out. So, a problem that we had with Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 is there was too much power creep, too much new stuff coming out. I think there should be, it looks like you're doing this with the Dark Sun setting. We need new subclasses, and we need them consistent. We need them consistently. And I think we should break them up into different sectors of different games. Maybe, if you want a Dark Sun character, you can say that these are the subclasses for this sort of game. What does that look like? I don't know. I'm just the guy. I'm just in the Wizards press conference room. Press conference? I'm in the conference room at Wizards. How'd they get the table in here? It's huge. I think that subclasses and maybe even new classes. Whoa. Holy cow, let's hold the phone. Whoa. And if I hear one more time that the argument that, Zach, well, then the defining lines between, there are so little classes in Dungeons & Dragons that we can make, 12 more before we have to start worrying about blurring the lines of people's distinct natures between all these different classes, all right? This is not the color pie from Magic the Gathering, all right? Look at different RPGs, okay? We can do different things with them. So, I'm a little excited about Dark Sun, all right? And this kind of goes into another thing I was going to talk about because it just kind of reminded me. I am a little sick of this game design element that there should be an expectation of social pressure to not do certain mechanics or certain things inside of video games or card games or any kind of game. And two distinct examples I think of this are Dead by Daylight, which is known as being the worst game ever made. It's terrible. It's awful. I have probably 200 hours in it. I don't play it currently. I probably will never play it again. Played it a little bit when Vecna came out. Hate it. Awful, awful, awful. Terrible. And then we have Magic the Gathering. And what you will know, for the people who intersect in these factions, the Dead by Daylight world and the Magic the Gathering world, is that you will know both of these games have mechanics kind of built into them that the developers support. That's another big thing. That aren't held by the actual rules of the game. For Dead by Daylight, that is, you do not, as the killer, run after the same person in the game. That is called tunneling. That is called tunneling. You go after the same person, and it's been an intrinsic problem of Dead by Daylight since its inception. Of course, new mechanics have been added so that killers are less deterred to do it. But in actuality, there is little stopping a killer in Dead by Daylight from targeting one single person and getting them out of the game. Sometimes that works. Maybe you're good at looping and the killer sucks and whatever. But there are societal pressures from the community to say, don't do that. Hey, if you have one person left, you bring them to hatch and you let them win. You get that win. So you're not losing anything for yourself. But you don't have to. There's nothing in the game that makes it so you don't have to. But you can be a better person if you do, if you follow these societal standards. The same thing goes for Magic the Gathering. You can play Winter Orb. You can play Turgid. You can play all of these salty cards. You can play mass land removal. But we won't play with you again. But we will not play with you again. There's going to be societal expectations that you will not be invited to the next game night. However, we come up to the problem that a new player comes into Dead by Daylight and they play the game and then they get a hate message that they tunneled someone the entire game and then they go, wow, this community sucks. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm playing the game. I have 20 minutes in this and now I have a rage message talking to me about something called tunneling. I don't know what that is. It wasn't in the tutorial. They never come back to the game. Me, after 200 hours. And then you have people in Magic the Gathering that maybe your pod is 3 people. And you don't want to go to your local game store because you had some problems with it. You don't like the people who run it. Next one's 45 minutes away. You don't want to go there either. Because you don't want to spend the money on gas. It's hard enough to get people together. However, one person in this game group, no matter how much we tell them we won't play again, how much we hate it, but we love the game of Magic, they play mass land removal. They play Turgid. They play Thief. They play Winter Orb. They play Vorinclex. But Wizards isn't going to do anything about that because this is Commander. There is a controversial opinion that there should be a ban list, more of a ban list in Commander. There should be less. Play whatever you want in Commander. And the people who say play whoever you want in Commander, play with great people, I'm sure. And the people who say they want a bigger ban list, play with some terrible people, I'm sure. However, because of the market economy, buying new products, and the fall of Standard in Magic the Gathering, now making it so that people aren't going to care as much about these bans in Standard because they won't be playing Standard, so they won't care about how much their cards cost and whatever. They're going to stick around and they're going to play some Commander, and there's no incentivization for Magic, Hasbro, Wizards, to ban these cards. So you're left with the idea that societal pressure will make it so that they don't play these cards. And I don't think this should be embraced. Well, Zach, what's the answer? What, do I look like Albert Einstein? Do I look like Oppenheimer? Who's another scientist? Do I look like, Kellogg? Who made cereal? This is an intrinsic problem because it's easier in a world to be like, this is a defined rule that you cannot play this card. This is a defined rule that you cannot tunnel people because of X, Y, or Z, right? How does that look? I don't know. And I don't even care about thinking about how that would look for Dead by Daylight because I'm not a developer for Dead by Daylight and it's not my job. It impacts me more in Magic the Gathering because sometimes I get into pods where people play stuff and it's up to me to be societal pressure and not play Magic anymore with these people, even though they may or may not be my only outlet to play the games with these people. So what am I left with? I'm left with a controversy online that all of a sudden I'm in the wrong because I think that maybe the societal pressure of that are embraced mechanics by developers may not be the answer to some intrinsic problems with the heart of a game. Maybe I don't think it's that way. And a lot of people who argue for the other side are in healthy, nice, smart pods, are in nice Dead by Daylight games, right? Maybe they're a survivor. Maybe they don't play killer. And I see this happening more and more. And I want to talk about why this is not a problem in Dungeons and Dragons. Because your dungeon master sets the rules, right? Well, Zach, my pod can set the rules. Zach, I can set the rules, whatever. But they always have the argument that because the rules are so loose, they always have the argument, well, Wizards didn't ban it. Well, this isn't banned by the actual game. And you can say the same thing for some things, some aspects of that in Dungeons and Dragons, Well, it's a not banned class in the rule books of Dungeons and Dragons. Well, we're playing my game. We're not playing the community game. We're not playing a game that's held online by some servers and no one's. I am the leader of this troop. Who's going to stand up in their pod and be like, I am the leader? I guess the person who owns the house. Typically, it's house rules, whatever. But it's not as much a problem in Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm sick of this philosophy within game design that if you have an intrinsic problem, and let me tell you, I think Magic's is a little bit more layered than Dead by Daylight's because of market price, buying products, yada, yada, that it should fall onto you, the player, to make these rules and hold each other accountable for it. Because there is no reason for someone to just be like, well, I'm going to do it anyways, right? I'm going to do it anyway. So I think that's a bold take. There you go. There's a bold take for you to argue about with me in the comments. I think it's unhealthy for a game, and I think it makes it where we have so much decision fatigue in our life, right? Now I got to worry about, I can't go after this guy after I unhooked him in Dead by Daylight because then I'm a jerk, and society doesn't want me to. Society. I do have to deal with this guy playing Turgid because even though it's a game changer, it's still allowed, and I have no one else to play with. I have no one else. I'm not giving you an answer on how you should respond to those. If your friend is playing bad cards, start playing CEDH against them. Turn 2 combos. Really start kicking them in the butt, right? If you are playing in Dead by Daylight, right, stop playing it. What I'm saying is it's an intrinsically poor, increasingly seen society rules, community rules that don't actually exist in the game. And then the developer's like, we don't got to worry about this. Society will handle it. Society. So just an observation I made. Let's get into some questions. I had a game where I had to come up with a lore reason why some aspect physics didn't work the way it does in our world, because duh. We're in a world of magic. I had to retcon it literally next week because of how much it broke the actual world. I don't know. Maybe I was overthinking it, but lesson learned. Water break. Just thinking about it is making me crash out. Like I'll have a laugh and I'll be like, we're in the world of magic. Why the F are you still thinking about real world physics? I've gotten better at just saying no to my players, but it's why I resonated with your private retcon bit so much. Like this is just a hobby I'm passionate about. I'm not a professional world builder. So for those who don't know, real thing I do in my games, I'll have a funny guy named Private Retcon or Squire Retcon or whatever come in. He'll just be saluting. And he'll be like, actually, here's a key. Here's a thing you missed, whatever. Because it doesn't matter. I like the James Gunn philosophy on retconning things, which I haven't seen Peacemaker Season 2 yet, but I know they retconned it in like a really nice way. And I think I know that, how they did it. Maybe I shouldn't speak on that. Listen, retcons will come. For me, it's not one of the most glaring problems, but it is so cope in Attack on Titan when some certain Titans may have powers in Season 3 and 4 that they didn't in Season 1 and 2, or vice versa, Season 1 and 2 that doesn't come up ever again. And people are like, well, actually, they did always have it. They did always have it, but they just choose not to use it. It's a retcon. It's fine that it is. That's okay. You can suspend your disbelief that they chose not to do that, but it's a retcon. Let's be so for real. And maybe that's how you should retcon your stuff. And as a player, as a person in your game, you shouldn't care if the DM wants something to happen. I had a time where I literally forgot to give an integral piece of information during the initial crime scene investigation of like the first episode of my new first play session of my new campaign. And I forgot to give them an integral part that moves the story forward. So I had Private Retcon show up. Sure, you can do it in a more subtle way. You can have them go back. In the original LA Noire, they have it where if you miss something at the original first case, like they're like, maybe you can go back and look for something like this. Great game. Don't be held down by retcons, okay? And don't be an ass if you are a player in a game and someone retcons something. But at the same time, don't cope and be like, well, it was always like this. It's not a retcon. You can acknowledge it's a retcon. That's for Attack on Titan. No spoilers. But there's nothing wrong with that. And it's kind of funny, right? I mean, it almost becomes a headache when you try so hard to retcon things, whatever. Stories grow and they evolve, and especially when it comes to players make decisions that alter your world that you couldn't plan for. It's okay to retcon, embrace the retcon. You can do it in a fast, unsubtle way, and that's okay. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up for it. Hi, Mr. Zach. I love your content and podcasts. I've re-listened to episode 4. Dang! It's the picture of the guy blowing the dust off the book. where you role-playing and freak out as a barbarian who makes a charisma saves instead of an intelligent to figure out what's wrong. To the question, my friends and I have a campaign where every 6 sessions we switch who's DM so nobody gets a big head about their god and they can control everything. That's interesting. Anyways, my boss is a devil I homebrewed who his name is Tanalor. Yes, I stole the name from Star Wars. I guess I can hang. Zach the Bold on every podcast. -2, I think. I can hang, all right? I don't know anything about Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars guy. He's my person's patron, and he summoned my character to hell. The excuse of why I'm DM, not someone else. The excuses of why I am DM, not someone else, because my person is gone for now. Okay, so when you DM, your person goes back to hell. So Tanalor rules several rings of hell and stuff. And I want my players to be afraid of him, not just because of his stat block, but because he's a devil, demon, fire elemental, ruler of hell. Okay, that's the question. How do I make my players afraid of this guy without having to give them 12 million HP or something? Okay, anyways, thank you for making such funny videos and podcasts. This guy named Out. D&D Germa, whatever that means. Bye. Good question. I argue on the logistics of how your player, if your character runs rings, layers of hell, they are intrinsically above level 20. Sorry to burst your bubble. Most of the times, CR 30, aspects of Tiamat, whatever, in normal Dungeons and Dragons, and this is just kind of like a funny lore thing. I'm always against the idea that you should go with lore and let that constrain you, Tier. But you can't fight someone who rules a layer of hell. Maybe the first layer. Who is that? I don't think you, because in Descent to Avernus, they're too strong. They're CR 1,000,000. You can't do it. So from a lore perspective, right, your party should never be able to be high level enough. And I'm worried that your character, so when your player, I can understand if like in their domain, in hell, they're stronger because they resonate more with whatever. And then they get back to the top side and then, devil is a part-timer, they're way weaker, whatever. Devil's a part-timer's reference is crazy. But I can understand that. I have a big problem in worlds that power scaling doesn't make sense, and I'm a little worried about you having a power scale that does not make any sense. If you rule multiple layers of hell, how are you playing with anyone on the framework of Dungeons and Dragons? Because, yeah, sure, you're a demigod at level 20, but buddy, you're not a god. You're not a devil. You're not a ruler of a ring of hell. That's above the scope of Dungeons and Dragons level cap. But, funny, cool, whatever. I'm always against the idea that anything edgy is dumb, all right? I think something edgy shows a little bit of vulnerability. I think it's cringe to be, I think an idea, especially with people in my generation and younger, think passion and edgy and whatever are cringe. I'm not a big supporter of that. I think you can have your shadow warrior, whatever, have some self-awareness, of course. But at the same time, I'm sick of like having the thing where, I can't have my cyber assassin, super dark, smoke cigarettes, whatever. There needs to be characters like that, no matter what. I will make fun of you, of course, if you say it's for a roleplay, like whatever. Of course I'll make fun of you. I make fun of everyone. I make fun of all my friends and whatever. But power scaling just makes me so mad when it's not consistent. So this is a little bit. Going to your question on how to make them care about it, maybe I'm a little bit of something different to think about is, there are people who are intrinsically more altruistic, more empathetic or sympathetic. I don't care. Someone will correct me in the comments. And will care about others more than themselves. So if you have a problem with them not fearing you, maybe you found their childhood dog. Hey, dude, all dogs go to heaven? Nah, yours went to hell. And I got him right here. And I can send him to a lower layer of hell. And it's like, here's your funny NPC. Here's your family. Here's your whatever. Is this sadistic? Yes. So don't be too weird about it. But just be a little thing like, oh, how funny would it be like they signed a contract to do this. Don't integrate yourself too much into a backstory of another person. But I think there's other ways than you trying to be, I'm big, scary boss. I think that's actually really bad. I think it's really bad for you to create this kind of climate where your players, your fellow players, are like, yeah, that's, what's his name? Tevlor? That's Tanalor, the DM NPC who's a level 110, CR 110, and he has 1 million HP, and he's the Lightbringer. I would wane away from that. Think of like a Raphael moment, right? He's not sure. He's got like a big stab log when you're level 1 and you first see him, or level 5 or whatever. But he's more scary because of the implications that he can do more bad stuff to different people in different ways. I guess I'd put that to, it's a framework you can think about it in some way. I wish you the best of luck with Tanalor. I think you sent this to me actually quite a long time ago, so I'm sure. The only reason that I haven't made fun of you more is because you haven't told me anything of how your players perceive you, but I'm sure they have some ideas about Tanalor. Okay. Hi, Zach. I'm a not-so-experienced DM having run a criminally bad first attempt at a full-length campaign and a couple of one-shots, and since then, 2 one-shots were fairly recent and much more successful than the full campaign, and I feel capability to run a game has increased. I've started brewing a few ideas that I really love for a new campaign setting that I would love to run for my group in a few months, but I'm having trouble with the map. For my one-shots, I could create a small setting and the players could jump right into it, maintaining cohesive themes and atmosphere throughout. But now that I've come to design a whole island, I'm struggling with balancing theming and ensuring each location feels distinctly different. I don't want every location to essentially be the same as each other, with only the characters changing, but I don't want each area to feel like a gimmick with a little connective tissue between them. Maybe this is a non-issue, and I'm sure you'll tell me if it is. First of all, I'm legally obligated to say I'm a huge fan. Please do not yell at me. Oh, that's the next question. Sorry. Don't tell me if it is. Okay, let's talk a little bit about atmosphere, right? I don't think it's bad for you to jump around and be like space cowboys here, ninjas here, kaiju's there, zombie apocalypse here. If that's your game, great. Oh, steak is too buttery, lobster too yummy. That's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that, right? But let's talk about if you want a serious campaign with cohesion. And I think you have, depending on where you go, the atmosphere, the mood can stay the same. But at the end of the day, it just needs a new coat of paint. It's a different mood. We'll say it like that. It's a different mood with a new coat of paint, right? You can look at Dark Souls as a prime example of this, right? You fight, let's think about just different areas in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, because they're pretty much at the same place, right? You're fighting the Returned King, or whatever his name is, and it's a whirlwind, vortex wind, and he's on a dragon flying around throwing lightning bolts at you, right? Now, let's think about Dark Souls 1, when you're fighting the first queen spider thing in the swamp area. God, what is that called? Is it Bajuka? Am I thinking of Bajuka Bog from Magic the Gathering? But it's like a swamp. It's Blight Town. That's what it's called. It's called Blight Town. And it sucks, and it's like known as the worst part of Dark Souls 1. But those are very different. One is in a spiraling vortex. You got this big guy throwing lightning bolts at you. I'm starting to sound like Ego Raptor and Sequelitis. And you have the Blight Town, which is a swamp mess. But the big thing about these two is they fit atmospherically. They have a new coat of paint. I think I just said that backwards, but they fit atmospherically. The mood is the same, but they change depending on where you're at. So let's take a minute to, let's say you are in a noir detective world. Very, let's say, black and white, swirling whiskey, smoking a cigar, trench coat hat, looking out the window, rainy day, jazz is playing, right? Now, you want to go over to meet with a cowboy faction somewhere else. And you're like, cowboys and noir? Okay, let's keep that same coat of paint. Black and white, raining, jazz, whatever. You can make them a gang within that have like these noir cowboy aesthetics. How cool would it be if their trench coats looked like dusters? They wore suit and ties with pinstripes, right? And they still had bandanas and hats, but they are, they have, gold rings on. They have suspenders. They have Tommy guns. You can keep everything within the same mood in your campaign, and they can be contrasting like noir detective and cowboys, but you can keep the same layer of paint. And I think this can be done in many different ways. Kenshi is another great example. The entire world of Kenshi is this post-apocalyptic desert. There is some parts that aren't desert or whatever. But in one part, you have the Holy Empire or something, and it's kind of like built up. They have, larger buildings, whatever. And then at the same time, you have the bug hive people. And those are contrasting, but they fit the same dystopian aesthetic, right? So there's a difference, no matter how much I say tone, mood, whatever in that long form video I made, because I don't care about vernacular, all right? And I no matter what, maybe you have Godzilla in your game, he's wearing a pinstripe suit. No, that's different, right? But there's ways to integrate these things and keep the same. I had a part in my last campaign where it is noir detective, and one of my players wanted to play a very Aztec themed, and we found a good example, like good in between, that they just turned into like a steampunk Aztec themed whatever, right? So I know for fact, all right, that this can be done. It's been done in literature forever. You just kind of flavor things in the way that you need to. Keep the same mood board, right? The same color palette, the same paint, and you can integrate different parts within that. Wow, I'm sounding reasonable. Guys, well, welcome to temperate, welcome to good takes, and welcome to mild medium takes and temperate attitudes, the new podcast. All right, firstly, I'm legally obligated to say I'm a huge fan. Please do not yell at me. I do not have a lot of experience in D&D. I ran a campaign for about a year in college, but never found the opportunity for it again. This year, a friend approached me and asked me to DM for him. His wife and their friend I immediately accepted, and has been great in all honesty. However, with adult life comes with the largest problem: planning a session. It's been 3 months now. We played twice, and our next session will be at the end of September. As a DM, I fell in love with the world I created, but it's hard to get motivated to plan sessions when they are so far apart. It also causes my players who are playing for the first time to forget their characters and add overall story. What's your advice to keep me motivated and my players engaged? Do I stop the campaign or ask my players for shorter sessions more often? Okay, I'm going to ignore your questions for real quick. I need to give you guys some advice on planning sessions, and this is not inherently for this question. This is just a thing that's kind of been up in the air for a bit. We've been talking about it on the channel, whatever. When you guys make sessions for your players and when you want to play this game and you want everyone to get together to play the game, I need you to understand that even if you have the most punctual, nice friends, as the DM, you need to be on top of your scheduling for them. You need to remind them 2 weeks out, and if it's even months between, once a month, you need to remind people. And you need to make sure that they know how impassioned you are about playing the game, right? Because then it's like a pickup game of basketball. Well, I'm not really, I'll miss one. We'll do it again another time. It's a pickup game of Magic. Well, I want to play Magic, but I got other things. It's not the top priority. When you have a DM who's worked on the world and you really want to play, make your players know that. Because then in their brain, socially manipulate your players into knowing that you will feel bad if they don't play D&D. There's some truth in that, right? You need to make sure that they know that this is an event. This is a thing that you want to get together for. Plan ahead. Don't be like, hey, we'll play again in 3 months. And then 2 days beforehand, you go, hey, everyone, we're good, right? Be on top of scheduling them. Sorry, you got to be like a little assistant. Because you worked hard on your world. Make sure they play. And be like, guys, oh God, guys, I got fired from my job. Lie about it. You're doing great. You got promoted. Lie. Guys, and I just don't know what to do. I need some time. Can we play D&D in 2 weeks at 7? Say time and say a date and say time. And then once everyone's in, they go, oh my God. Oh man. I mean, yeah, he lost his job. I thought he said he was just about to get a promotion. He lost his job in a fire. Oh, how terrible. I mean, the least I can do. The least I can do is go play D&D. How's the job going? Oh, we got fire insurance. It's fine. I'm back at it. Oh, well, I thought actually I had my grandma's funeral today. I actually kind of moved that around for this. Oh, you did? Oh, well, no, I'm doing fine. All right, can you roll initiative, please? Be on top of it. Tell them a time and give reminders, or else it's, ashes in the wind. It is. They're going to forget. And then, you tell them one day before. How are they going to remember? Are you kidding me? They have lives. So do you. So that's what I would say. That is just give them some time. If you're having trouble, you can work more on your game, scratch that itch, and then, ask your players and be like, hey, I'd like to play a little bit more. Maybe we can do some more in-person sessions, some online. I personally prefer in-person sessions, always online, whatever. Maybe they're busy, whatever. And just like, tell them about drop shipping. Why are you going to your job, drop ship stuff? Make AI videos on TikTok and drop ship poorly made products on Alibaba. Why aren't we thinking outside the box, folks? Start working the stock market, all right? Zach, I can't play. I work 12 hours a day. I work as a plumber. We're severely understaffed. Zach, I spray lawns for a living. I work 12 hours a day. I just sprayed into someone's koi pond. It killed them, and now my company's being sued. I don't have time. Have you heard about... Have you heard about Alibaba? Have you heard about scamming people online? This is a joke for all legal reasons. This is very clearly a sarcastic joke for all legal reasons. I want to play D&D. Okay? I need you to start making AI videos and AI art and start burning down our planet, sucking up all our water. And I need you to scam people online for products so I can play D&D twice a week. Can we get on board with this? 4 years from now, this clip is taken out of context. Oh, I can't wait for that day. That's going to be great. I want to play more D&D. No, in all seriousness, just be on top of your friends. Pause. Make sure that they know, this is meaningful to you to some degree. This isn't a pickup game of basketball, which is very meaningful to a lot of people, but this is different. Like, you don't have to prep for a game of basketball. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I was in theater. I was doing tap dance for My Fair Lady at my local community college. I don't know anything about sports. I know LeBron James. I know that he descends down from an ODST pod. He descends down into the Lakers court from ODST, like from a Helldivers pod from orbit. And then it's like that picture of SpongeBob and Patrick, and he does that. That is my advice to you. It also causes my players to forget. How do I promote? Oh, all right. Another thing. We've talked about this before. Engage the senses. Dim the lights. When your players start up, there's been a big break. Dim the lights. Use the same candle. It's like that one, it's that psychological thing where you ring the bell and the dog eats a treat. You need to do that to them. What is that called? You need a Pavlov. I found it. My God, that took me forever. You need a Pavlov your friends into knowing when D&D is starting. Get into the world. Dim the lights. Start a little candle, a little cantrip candle. Make it smell like the Black Hound Tavern on the inside. And that you need to Pavlov your friends knowing this is D&D time. Let's get into it. It may have been 3 months. And then their brains start remembering everything that's been happening. Is that unethical? I don't think so. Set the mood. Set the tone. All right? No, this is D&D time. And I think psychologically, as a person with a film degree from IDT Tech, let them know. Let their brains remember what's going on. Hey, Zach, I'm a first-time DM, and I have a party with 2 of my friends. It goes well, and we're having a good time, but one of them hasn't made a backstory after about 5 months. He seems to be a follower and doesn't speak for the party, but with only 2 people, it makes it difficult to create social interactions because half my party doesn't have personally. What should I do? Great question. I would say don't And if I have ever said anything different before, don't quote me on that. What I would say for you to do is don't tell them to make a backstory at this point. Don't. The backstory is now going to be made as you go. Local Gen Z content creator, D&D content creator, finds out about how backstories were made in the 1980s, about how backstories were made in the Red Book. As they go and continue on, right, you can ask them questions. Maybe they interact with an NPC that goes, that sword, I've seen it before. Where did you get it? I've seen that style. Are you from the north? Where did you get a sword like that? Ask them questions and let them build it as it goes on. You don't want to really force them into being like, I need you next week to make a backstory. Because if they don't, it's not that maybe they don't care, but maybe it's the biggest priority in their life, right? So during D&D time, let's make that backstory as we go on, right? If you want to make a backstory, great. Make sure it's not more important than my main quest, all right? Otherwise, it's confetti cannon time. Otherwise, it's confetti cannon time. Dunce hat, confetti cannon. What it needs to be is that, it just needs to be a developing story like any other part of the campaign. Maybe if they have nowhere to go with their backstory at the end, maybe it's building it up and revealing it as it goes on. That's their backstory. That's where it needs to go. I think that's where we need to think about background players and where they interact. Build that up, and maybe, they're wandering, whatever, right? Don't implement stuff into their stories unless things need to be retconned. You know who I'm talking to. I would say build that story with them. Where did you get those pants? Oh, Sheen? Oh, so you're an evil character. Oh, fast fashion. Build it as it goes on. All right. I don't force it. It's not going to work anyways, right? Maybe you want to get a little mad at them. All right. Pavlov them. Pavlov your friends. Quit the integral jobs America needs in this world in order to keep rotating and try to sell in the stock market. Wake up at 5 a.m., put your face into a bucket of ice water, go and prep your session for 7 hours, go on the stock market for 2, make $1 billion, and make it so your friends live together like the old cow chop house. Sorry, like the old creature hub house. Whoa, blast of the past. Build it with them. That's my advice. We're getting to the end of the episode anyway, so we're going to get into super chats real quick. $5 from Iceberg 8. Zerma the Mold. One of these days you'll have to reenact the meat grinder rant. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I don't know if I had any good rants this episode. I love when I get... Sometimes, when you just get on one, you get on one. Papillon again with the 10. Thank you, 7210. Appreciate you. Zach, I agree. Making it weird with the romance angle in D&D is really bad and can ruin the experience, but I've also had some really positive experiences with it and seen some cute moments as long as it's kept PG and doesn't take up too much focus from the adventure story. Papillon, I agree. I'm sure. Again, I want to reinstate. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with romance inside of a D&D game. I will emphasize some of those points to make a point. But I don't think it's inherently wrong. In the right context, when you're comfortable with the right people, it works. I'm saying for myself, and there's definitely other people out there that aren't comfortable with it. I personally am not. I don't think there's anything wrong with it in the right contexts, with the right people. It's not for me. And if you play in one of my games, you'll instantly, the opportunity will just never come up unless it's a bit, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong. Thank you for the 10, Papillon. Blue Bread 00 sent 10. Had to write an essay for my college composition class about discourse community. And I chose D&D. I used you guys' reference multiple times that essay. Thank you for inspiring me to write about something I cared about deeply. Blue Bread, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I think that is so funny that you used it as an example in a college essay. Some college professor has to watch through 3 hours of my podcast to do it. He comes back, he goes, yeah, for some reason my professor came back into class and he couldn't talk. He said he had a big headache and just told us to read. He put on Bill Nye. I spent $4,500 a semester. It's probably way more. $4,500. Probably $4,500 for this class book, and I have to watch Bill Nye. Thank you for the 10, Blue Bread. I do appreciate that. I'll make sure to put that on my resume now. Basic Trouble 2500 sent $5 Canadian for the Wild Magic Surge breaking hypnotic pattern question. This doesn't work at all, Raw. Roll teleports you to the astral plane, not the ethereal plane like Blink. Whoa! Which is impossible in Curse of Strahd since the forces of Ravenloft won't let you leave Barovia until the campaign is over. Wait. Okay, hold on. That's actually, the DM could have fun with this and make the dark powers teleport her somewhere else, but Raw, the Surge, should just do nothing. Yeah, wait, that's actually great. That is so funny. Wait, that's a great point. I'm not even trying to glaze you, dude. Them, you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. I will. Yeah. I have no response. I pass priority. Great. Wow. Oh my. I'm like kind of like, I'm not even trying to glaze. All right. I'm really not. I was like, I didn't even think about it in the context of Barovia. Well done, Basic Travel. My God. Burning Blaze 005 sent 5. Hey, I'm the one who sent 3 and resent 1 by accident. But I don't mind the extra $10 going to you. Appreciate it, Burning Blaze. Oh my gosh, thank you. Anyways, I've been playing Kenshi nonstop. I've been playing a skeleton. Oh, great. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been playing a skeleton who uses martial arts and blunt weapons to fight evil factions, protects the moon they live on. The planet you play on in Kenshi is a moon, not a planet, and I've called him Moon Knight. That's cool. I actually really like that. That's what I like about Kenshi. I just had some problems with it, and I'm going to take a break because I don't have the time to really get into Kenshi, and I literally rage quit and uninstalled. But that's what I like about it. You can do that, and that's why I like there's no quests or whatever. I don't even like when my character speaks in Kenshi, because I'm like, let me make my head canon. That is the magic of Kenshi, and that would be the magic of if bringing Dark Sun back, right? Well, bring Moon Knight. Bring in Moon Knight to Dark Sun. That is what will happen. They will be the pinnacle of good. My God, whatever. Thank you guys. If you're sending a super chat, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a boulder. Thank you for being you. Have a great week. Shout out Blue Collar. Shout out you. I'm excited to see what comes up next. We have some fun collaborations coming up. As always teasing those. Also, last thing I want to say is September 2nd, the Kickstarter goes up for the book that I helped wrote, The Scorched Basin. Keep an eye out for that. I will be posting it into the comments of every podcast video. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to support me and the work that I've done, you can just watch this simply. Or if you want a new System Agnostic TTRPG, you can check that out later. Kickstarter goes up September 2nd. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Zach Rinaldo, better known online as Zach the Bold, and I will see you next time. Wow, I'm a true YouTuber now. Bye!